You always hear stories and you think, oh, that'll never happen to me. You know, never. Well, it happened to me. I started to feel as though I was coming down with the flu.
We'd moved from Florida to Las Vegas, so there was a lot of packing and moving involved.
And throughout the day, I just keep feeling worse and worse and worse.
And then the next thing I know, he's vomiting all over the couch and the floor.
It was terrible.
It was very severe flu-like symptoms.
Doug and I got into my car with the 2 dogs, and we decided we're going to head back to South Florida.
I stayed behind in Las Vegas and had a mover come and pack up all of his belongings.
But we were homeless. We had no idea where we were going back to. I was deteriorating. Doug finally said to me,
"You need to go to the hospital. You look terrible."
I fought it because I knew deep down inside maybe there really was something worse than the flu. Before I was diagnosed, my life was pretty much normal. I was very, very active. I loved to travel. We used to go places all the time. My kids live up in New Jersey. I'd go back and forth to there. I had what I called a normal life. I just felt sick one day and boom. My life was it just came to a screeching halt. It stopped. I get to the ER. They immediately take me back.
The doctor takes one look at him and orders like a battery of tests.
And the doctor comes in, and he wasn't even in there 30 seconds. And he says to me, "You have end-stage renal disease, which is kidney failure." So I said to them, "Am I gonna die?" I remember one of the doctors said, "I don't know."
They said, "We're going to admit you to the ICU."
I was in the hospital, I think, for about 8 or 9 days.
His kidneys were so bad that the toxins in his body were so bad he couldn't see, and he was in total blindness.
They would not release me from the hospital until I was admitted to a dialysis center. I was going to have to go 3 times a week. You go for 4 hours at a time. You sit in a chair. You get hooked up to a machine. And they acted like it was no big deal. Well, it was a huge deal. So I went to the dialysis center the first day, and I remember leaving there feeling a terrible feeling of sickness again.
Initially, it seemed to bring back some of his vitality, like he seemed to be okay.
You're only permitted on hemodialysis 32 ounces of fluid per day. It would drain me to the point beyond belief.
Even with a perfect dialysis that you could achieve, you cannot achieve more than 20% of what the real kidneys are doing.
So then I would start to have a little bit of energy, and now the next morning I'd have to go back, and the whole cycle started again. So I never felt good. But, you know, they used to say to me, "Listen, you have to get used to this. This is how your life is going to be. And this is what's keeping you alive."
Life for him kind of stopped, and it just was getting through one day to the next.
He would have to hook himself up to a machine before he went to sleep, and it would run, I think, for about 6 to 8 hours, 7 nights a week.
At the time, I thought I was feeling better, but you know what? I wasn't.
He was very sick all the time, just very, very sick, and I think he just continued to get even sicker.
Let's say, for example, I would go and have dinner, and then, you know, when you're so stuffed, and now imagine putting 2 liters of soda now in your stomach on top of that feeling of being so full. Well, it caused me to vomit all the time. And I would say to you, for the just under 2 years that I was on peritoneal, I averaged vomiting 3 to 4 times per day. So the nurses that I had at PD were Lisa and Debbie. And they started talking to me about transplant.
And I've seen such success, especially with young people. I think it's, you know, you have a whole life to live.
So I really fought it and fought it and fought it, and I thought, no, I can't do that. There's no way I can take an organ from somebody that has passed away.
The only thing you ever really hear about organ transplants is just that the lists are so long, there's so many people waiting, and you know, if it would be like waiting in a never-ending line.
But Lisa convinced me to do it. She said, go and get evaluated.
We didn't have people rejecting kidneys. Not in the past probably 6 or 7 years.
Transplantation will normalize your body requirements for insulin.
Combined kidney and pancreas transplant does two things: get people off dialysis and get people off insulin requirements.
You simply, once you leave the hospital, you are not a diabetic patient anymore.
Right now, nationally, there are more than 111,000 patients in need of a life-saving transplant. Just here in the state of Florida, it's 4,000.
I received a phone call from the transplant center, and she said, I have good news for you. You're on the transplant list. And I would say for the first 2 or 3 days after I was told I was put on the transplant list, every single time my phone would ring, I would think, oh my gosh, this is the call. They're calling me. And then I kind of just came to reality and thought, get a grip. It's not going to be happening that soon. There's people that wait, 5, 6, 7 years. Some people, unfortunately, don't even get the call and they end up losing their battle.
And I would say, did you get the call? And he would say, no, stop asking. I didn't get the call.
Like friends or family, they would say, they would talk about something, 6 months down the line, or, let's go to a concert, 3 months down the line. I would say, yeah, sure, I'm in, because I didn't want it to affect me. And again, I was fighting it and fighting it and fighting it. But in the back of my mind, when somebody would ask me to do something in the future, I would think to myself, I probably won't even be around for that. Like, I'm sure that I'm going to be dead by then.
But Darren was the kind of a person that to anybody outside of the family, Darren always had a happy face.
And there were so many times that I would go to sleep at night and think, please don't let me wake up. I don't want to do this anymore. I can't do it. I'm done. I don't want to, I don't want to do it. My friends called me up and said, do you want to go have sushi for dinner? So I meet them for dinner about 6:30, and at 6:49 p.m., my phone rings.
I was out Christmas shopping when I got the phone call.
I answer it.
He at first believed that I was a friend of his calling him, playing a trick on him. And so I repeated it. We have a kidney pancreas offer for you.
And I said, really? Really? This is it? And he was like, this is it.
And he said, pack your bag, and you need to head over.
The quicker the organs can be transplanted, the better chances of viability they have.
So it was really a very, very exciting, surreal thing for us.
This was like the answer to 2 years worth of prayers.
And it was Christmas time, and it was just such a blessing.
I said to him, the poor family, who is it? Knowing full well they weren't going to tell me who it is. And he said, I can tell you that it was a 22-year-old male. So we walk into the ER and I said, hey, my name's Darren and I just got called for an organ transplant.
But no, we had to wait a couple hours for blood tests and matching. And
the nurse said to me, I have good news. You're a perfect match.
I was so happy for Darren that he was going to get this second chance. And I was so sad for the family that, somebody had to lose a loved one that close to the holidays.
I just kept thinking, oh my gosh, this poor family. I was going to be in the next operating room right over from my donor. So, we were going to be right next to each other.
In this case, when we sew the kidney in and we see urine being made, and that shows us that the organ is functioning and that indeed we have achieved what we came to do.
I was given a new kidney and a new pancreas.
The surgeon comes out and tells us that everything went well.
Darren was hooked up to all the machines. They said everything was successful, everything was fine.
And that in just a few minutes we'll be able to go see him.
You know, I had never seen so many machines behind somebody with so many tubes. It was very scary.
I asked the ICU nurse that was working on Darren, how was the family, if they could tell me anything about the family, and she said she couldn't give me any information.
As time went on in the hospital, like fewer and fewer machines were there and fewer tubes and wires were gone.
I felt completely better than I felt when I got admitted to the hospital. My mom was down in the Starbucks at the hospital, and she came up and she said, "You're not going to believe this."
I was reading the newspaper and I looked in the obituary and I saw the obituary and I put everything together.
And I said, "I don't want to hear, I don't want to know, please don't tell me anything." Doug was in the room, and then my mom, as if I'm not there, starts telling Doug the story.
We were able to determine, based on the information, the bits and pieces of information we were given, who the donor was.
The obituary just stated his name, and it said Casey Jason Palavita, 22 years old, Tampa.
Casey was our third son. When he was little, he was so much fun. As he grew older, he loved sports. He was a really good football player. One of his proudest moments, he played Raiders, was when he took out 2 quarterbacks in one game.
He was always a really good athlete, probably even a little bit better than me. He was always nice. He was great with animals.
He was a beautiful little boy. He looked like a little angel.
And he had a real good sense of humor. Very smart.
I remember, especially when he was young, I was always very happy.
As he got older, things got a little tougher for him. Got into some things that weren't good. Got an injury to his back. That didn't help with getting into the drugs and things that he got into. But we loved him very much. We tried real hard to help him get out of that. It didn't work out.
In the years leading up to this, I know Casey had been depressed a lot. Had a real tough time in life with a lot of things.
We knew that he was doing some drugs. He was taking methadone. We had talked about maybe possibly going to rehab. He was fighting us tooth and nail, obviously. Never thought it was that bad, though. No.
I remember when we got the call to come to the hospital.
He's telling me that, Casey isn't doing well. He essentially is in a coma and probably not going to make it.
By the time the third call came on the way to the airport, we understood why, he was being kept alive.
They had said they'd been approached to donate Casey's organs.
They decide, without me knowing, that they were going to drive by to pay their respects.
I remember driving into the back of the funeral home, and there was a car there, and a lady got out of the car, and I got out and I talked to her, and I said, "Do you think it would be inappropriate of me to go in and leave a note for the family?"
And we got there, the funeral director gave us a note that was written by Darren's mom.
So I called, and it was Darren's mom, and she was really nice, and I told him to definitely come down and meet everybody.
It was a very happy time for us, but it was a very sad time for them.
Doug and I went to the funeral home before the viewing, and we met the family.
We were just happy to see him.
She kept saying, "Thank you, you saved my son's life." And it was very comforting.
It was just kind of uplifting in a bad moment.
The organ donation really put a positive spin on something that was so negative.
There's no words to describe the feeling of us meeting them and them meeting us. It was just a surreal feeling.
It was happy, it was sad, everything at the same time.
So we had them sign the casket. That was something we did. Instead of flowers on the top, we had all his friends and people with special markers, and they signed it and wrote notes to him.
Everyone came, and everyone wrote a little note to Casey, and which we did also. And I thought, it's such a sweet idea.
Within a couple days, Dennis wrote me back and just said, I hope you're doing okay, and yes, we would love to meet you.
We met at a restaurant, and my mother came, and my son Dennis came, and my husband.
We hit it off right away. I just love them both. I love all of them. The mother and I got along perfect.
They greeted me like they had known me forever.
The conversation flowed as if, like I said, like we've known each other for 20 years, you know, and it was a great experience.
They've really, really opened their arms up to Darren, and Darren has, you know, really embraced them.
When the dinner came to an end, it was, you know, we're going to be in touch, and we're going to see each other. And
it was very comfortable, and we've been getting closer and closer ever since.
It's really, it's hard to describe, but it's an unbelievable thing. Like, they're a part of my family, just the way that my biological family is.
In transplant, they come in ill and leave healthy. And as a nurse, that is very rewarding.
You see them come in so sick, you know, and they get their transplant, and they just start feeling so much better. You know, a lot of them say they feel better than before they even started dialysis and all that. So it's really good.
It's just amazing, and I wish everybody see that, so the awareness, you know, of the donation gets better. It's amazing how you could save life and change life.
In the hospital, we were approached by LifeLink.
I think that's a really great thing to, in essentially leaving this world, that you're going to help somebody else with sort of your final act, I guess.
It was very positive, and they were so nice, you know, very caring, very thoughtful.
Everyone in the family was really happy about it, and it's something I just had never thought about.
I often say that I'm just a middleman. Without organs, I can't help my patients.
Certainly changed my views of organ donation.
The organ transplant has impacted Darren's life in such a positive way.
Where he is going, you know, is very, very exciting.
And I know, I feel like this is how it had to be. This was what, you know, God's plan was for everything, and everything's for a purpose. And, you know, from day one, this is what was going to happen.
I think it's comforting to the donor family to know that their loss helped 4 people.
So it helps both parties, and it's really, really, really amazing to see that.
There's not a minute in the day that goes by that I don't think about what I've gone through and how somebody left me this gift.
If more people could see how things played out, I think the lists would be so much shorter.
Now that I look back on it and I see how good I feel and I see how well I'm doing, I really, really honestly feel that it was worth every bit of the sickness that I went through for 3 years.
Since the transplant, Darren has really, really gotten a focus.
However he can help out, he's really energized, really motivated.
And anybody that knows Darren can tell you he is a totally different person.
Just educating people and everything, I think, is what our calling is now.
He really realizes and completely appreciates and has such a gratitude for the gift of life that he was given.
I made a promise to myself that if I made it through the surgery and I became healthy, that I would donate as much free time as I had back to the transplant community.
The connection that he's made with his donor family is awesome.
90% of people are in support of organ donation, but only 30% of the people are actually willing to donate organs. There's so many myths and misconceptions about what it is, and you know, if people would just listen to one person's story and see how it can affect, you know, the ripple effect.
And I just think it's just been a wonderful experience. The whole thing has brought all of us like one happy family. We're just all connected.
I'm just so happy to know that Casey lives on through Darren and the others. It just gives me a good feeling.
Just seeing the positive impact it's had on him and his family and me and Casey's family, the people around us.
I'm a much more giving and caring and understanding person now. Much, much more.
The night before he passed away, we had gone somewhere and we were in the car and he was driving me insane. And we were back and forth arguing, which we do, but that's normal. He was concerned that he hadn't done anything great, to be honest. And I said, well, I really have a good feeling you're going to do something fantastic. And he's like, yeah, right. I said, no, you really are. You're going to do something fantastic. I feel it. And he did. And that makes me really happy. Of course, it's nice. I'm happy that he gave me a big hug and told me he loved me. And I told him I loved him that night. But I think at this point, he's looking down and he's proud.